Hi there, friends. So, a friend of mine asked, how can I paint a cool design on my walking stick? And the first thing I thought of was this stick sculpture that I made in 2014 that is a talking stick versus an answer feather for Indian. But even more so, the lesson is more about how do we paint all of this fun design on a stick or substrate. So I'm going to take a moment and give her some pointers, and I might as well give you pointers while I'm at it. If I'm going to do it, I might as well do a video. So I'm going to put this over to the side a little bit and get started. The first thing that I would normally do is I would take some sandpaper and I would actually just sand very lightly. You don't have to sand every bit of shellac off of whatever object you're doing. Just you're sanding it so that you can get a good tooth for the paint to adhere to for the most part. Now, if it's an oil-based shellac, you might have to go ahead and sand a bit more, especially if you're working with acrylic. So you'll just take some sandpaper and go ahead and sand your item a little bit to give it some tooth for the paint to adhere to. The next thing that I would do is my favorite palette paper to work with, or palette to work with, is actually freezer paper. It is the most economical palette I can find. It's much better than a paper plate. All I do is actually tape it down to my table with some painter's tape. And by the way, this is the first time ever filming a class, so please excuse my incredible mess. I did not clean my area before I decided to do this. I just went ahead and jumped right in, and I hope that you jump right in too. This is all very easy stuff, but if you don't know how, it's not easy at all. Okay, so now I've got my palette and I've got my surface that's normally prepared. But the first thing that I would do is I would actually do some practice work on some paper of some sort. The paper that I lay down on my table is actually copy paper. And I'm going to use some Bristol. It's 100-pound paper. What you're looking for more than anything is paper that will accept paint. Bristol accepts paint, watercolor accepts paint, of course acrylic or mixed media will accept paint. And I want to play with designs that I might want to do for this project. And the biggest thing that I want to tell people is don't try to be perfect. Perfect is highly overrated. When you try to be perfect, you can see every error. But if you're not perfect, can't see any errors. So I'm grabbing a couple brushes. I've got a little bucket of water off screen, kind of off screen. I don't know if it's on screen now. Kind of on screen. It's kind of dirty. Doesn't matter. And let's just take a moment and look at design basics. So I'm going to grab some red, some yellow, and a blue. This is probably not the blue that everyone would grab, but you know, this blue is fun. Just don't try and make purple with it if you're using a warm red, and that'll be a different lesson. So I'm going to take a little bit of this red, a little bit of yellow, make an orange, and I'm going to go ahead and paint an area where I'm going to, this will be the background of the area that I am going to put a design on. So more paint, probably a larger brush is better. There we go, lay down some paint. Again, do I necessarily need it to be perfect? No, absolutely not. Some of the interest in surface design is going ahead and having that broken color. So we're going to let that dry for a moment. While we let that dry, we're going to go ahead and think about what is surface design. It's just marks that you're making on your papers or your items. So to make it easier for the paint to flow out of the brush, you're going to wet your brush and wet your paint. You can use a fluid acrylic. You can use a high flow acrylic. You can actually use any acrylic and turn it into those in a couple different ways. The first way is going to be adding water, but be careful of adding too much water, or you will break up the molecular structure of the acrylic and it will crack in a couple years. Just an FYI. Most of the time you want to actually use a medium like like matte medium or airbrush medium to thin your acrylic. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to create a little surface design. This is going to be a C and a comma. C, comma, C, comma, C, comma. You see that none of that is exactly like the other, but because it's not like the other, it actually looks like a good design. C, comma, C, comma, C, comma. So I'm probably going to put that over this, but I'm going to wait for it to dry just a little bit more. What else could I do? I could do dot, 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 making sure that my distance between dots varies slightly. And I'm not using my main practice, which is wipe your brush before you stick it in the water. Line, 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 line. That line is not lining up with the one above it. Go ahead and throw a curvy here. Again, and like I said, I usually wipe my brush and then rinse it. And that way I'm putting more of that paint here on the paper than I am into the water source. Because of course we're going to dump that water somewhere and we really don't want it acrylic down our pipes. So wipe, then rinse. Okay, so I'm ready to go ahead and do a design on this orange space. There we go. And I think I would like to see some cool circles. And maybe a dot between each circle. So circle and dot. And again, don't be perfect. If you're perfect about this, if you're precious about this, you're not going to enjoy the results that you come up with. You're going to see each and every little error. But if every circle is slightly oblong, if every dot is a little longer than the other, if everything is slightly off, it all looks like it belongs there properly. So go ahead and try this when you get a chance. If you have any questions, put them below. I'm sure that some people will have some opinions about what I have said regarding everything, and that's fine. Throw those comments down there and I'll be happy to tackle them. Either way, again, wipe and then rinse. And bang, I've got a really cool design here that I would love to see on a stick. Y'all have fun today.